de las 12 tribus, que no son los que mandan hoy en el Estado de Israel. Los que hoy gobiernan Netanyahu no es judío auténtico. Él es un cambalache que viene por allá de Polonia. Para los que les gusta hablar de religiones y dicen que esto es un conflicto religioso. No, esto no es un conflicto religioso. El conflicto que hay desde la fundación del Estado de Israel es un conflicto geopolítico, porque ese Estado lo crearon para conquistar todo el Medio Oriente y Asia Central y quitarle las riquezas y colonizar esos pueblos. Es el proyecto sionista, que dicen que van desde el río Jordán hasta el Éufrates y más allá.
Shalom, shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rahakodash, the honors to the apostles, elders, and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, salutations, blessings to the elect, pushing the word across the four corners of the earth, risking your life to do so. I'm the brother Shaman, the Great Millstone, Chicago. And yeah, when we say risking your life to do so, it really is. Because shortly after he made this speech, talking about, you know, Habibi, not a Jew. And this was in June of 2025. In August, the U.S. put a $50 million bounty on his head. All right, and now we're seeing the end results of that, where they could actually come in and swoop in and take the president and hit tactical airstrikes all around, and then had the sweeper team jump in the chaos and confusion and grab him and get the fuck out of there. Which I don't think any casualties on the U.S. side is being reported, but it's been multiple casualties reported for Venezuelans of officials and soldiers and stuff like that. And yeah, that was an act of war. You killed a king, that was an act of war. That was what was that? The prophet who went to go see that Moabite king, and then he said, "Hey, I want to tell you something," and then his servants left. They closed the door, and they said he was fat, and then it was the left-handed Benjamite, and then he got his ass, and that was an act of war. It's an act of war. But asking, because I've actually met a lot of the Venezuelans. So he said those 12 tribes, those are not the one who rule well. Netanyahu is not. And he said it. And this the president, like a lot of his people consider him a tyrant because of the whole drug trade thing, which, is out of the mouth of the testimony of many of his own people. They said basically he had caused food shortages in this country. And he did a bunch of other stuff, and there's a lot of Venezuelans around celebrating that. So it was definitely a chess move. The U.S. seeing that him and his people are disgruntled, they come in, swoop him up, and then, hey, we'll put somebody in for you. All right, and now we're about to see this all play out in real time. All right, the whole downfall of Venezuela, which those crude oil establishments, they say it costs like $20 to $50 million for those crude oil processing plants that the U.S. is saying that they set up, and then they had cut off access to them, and yeah, all of this is that's all about to be in somebody's pocket. It's all about to be in somebody's pocket. All right, but I thought it was interesting, that he made this statement, and shortly after, they got at him. So he'd been talking to somebody, or, he said he comes from Poland. Like he's talking to somebody who put him on game. And just real quick, because they actually showed the aftermath. I believe they're saying this is his where he was at. And then they show you, with how them airstrikes hit. Yeah, Esau, man, what does it say? Who can make war with the beast? because they come through in the middle of the night. Thermal vision, infrared, or drones, or yeah, or they got jets which don't show up on radar, And this is the same forces that consider themselves, the gods of this earth, right? Because that's what they've said in their heart, that they are God. That's basically what these high-level Edomites believe, that we are God. Look at the power we have. Matter of fact, Revelation 13:12, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. The Roman Empire. This is the Roman Empire revitalized. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Right? That military might. Right? Like when Elijah did it on Mount Carmel. That was through the power of Yahweh Shai. Esau, they have all this technology, these technological advancements, and they can influence and do the same thing, kind of. Right? And with a lot of Esau's powers, that's what you see. They actually copy off of the Most High and the things that he's done, and they try to re-manipulate it. All right, but with his stuff, you need, kerosene and, flames and all of this stuff, bombs. Right, it said, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which Esau's miracles are all false miracles. Right, because the Lord is not really with him, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life. And see that they've been given power to reshape the world in their image. All right, that's what this whole chapter is about. They've been, they got the power to go into Colombia and do that, and they're gonna reshape everything how they want it, and try to Americanize it in a way. All right, and then eventually we're gonna cause the money system, which we also manipulated. You're gonna have to move over to this system. All right, the U.S. dollar took an 11% hit. We're moving. So I just thought that was very interesting, but that would explain it. Now, you make certain statements against certain people, certain reactions happen, right? And that just goes to show. But ultimately, with the prophets of the Lord, the Lord is with us. The Lord is with us, man, to do what we do. The Lord has been with us. Yahweh Shai is with us. Right? The sincere brothers who are teaching the correct doctrine. Right? We have angels encamped around us. I've actually seen them. All right, but this goes to show you how dangerous it is to say certain things on public airways, and why they want to limit that kind of speech for truth. All right, but Lord willing, is edifying. Just something to consider. They're making a man an offender for a word. If you speak certain truths, because you can, somebody say some bullshit, they should be corrected, absolutely. All right, a false witness is an abomination, but we give a true witness. All right, so shalom to the elect, and I'll see you on the next one.